telling these kids, hey, starting a family is something to aspire to, not something to be afraid of.
Yeah, I've been very vocal about it, and I'll tell you one thing. I've talked to Tucker Carlson about this, who's the biggest star in my movement at the moment. He's got 4 kids, and he's constantly saying, family is everything, have as many kids as you can, have more kids than you can afford. Andrew Breitbart, my boss and mentor, had 4 kids. So people can do it. You can be busy and have kids, and I highly recommend it. It just fulfills every second of your life. There's something interesting going on.
Let's do it, everybody. I'm Alec Elise. Thank you for watching First Class Fatherhood. Today's guest on the podcast is Alex Marlow. Alex is the editor-in-chief of Breitbart News. Today's interview was recorded live in Tampa at the Turning Point USA. Get down there, smack the subscribe button, tap that like, and let's jump into it right now with Alex Marlow on First Class Fatherhood. All right, Alec Lace live here at Turning Point USA, joined by First Class Father Alex Marlow. Thank you for giving me a few minutes of your time here.
Yeah, I'm thrilled to do it. You have an incredible sales pitch right behind us, which is this amazing wall of all these great guests.
Well, listen, let's start just like this here. How many kids do you have? How old?
I have at least 2. At least 2. People will be confused by that, but then their minds will go crazy for it. My eldest is about to turn 3, and my youngest is 15 months or 16 months.
Wow, very cool.
Yeah.
You still got the price tag on that one. Okay.
I still do. Yeah.
You guys all done? You going for more?
Oh no, we'll have some more, and it would be debatable how many more, but we love it. I'm so happy to do this, and I wish I had started earlier. I really do.
Yeah, well, listen, that's one of the messages I try to. I know we're at Turning Point USA with a lot of the young kids that are here. One of the messages I say is start early, have kids early, because it really does. It's really the best thing you're going to do in life. It's the most fulfilling thing you're going to do. So starting early is something that I recommend as well.
Fatherhood to me has been, I feel like it's this club, it's almost like this secret society that we all know exists, but it just feels so different once you're a part of it and immediately becomes such a big part of your identity. I talk about how I'm actually a stay-at-home dad, even though I am the top content guy at Breitbart, the editor-in-chief of Breitbart. I have a national radio show. I had a book that came out called Breaking the News that I hope everyone checks out. Took a lot of research. I'm doing all this stuff, but I'm at home all day, and my kids are there, and I'm with them, and I'm interacting with them, and it's such an amazing thing, and it's the biggest part of my life now.
Yeah, it's awesome, because I know, listen, last week I was at CPAC down in Dallas, and I know that was called America Uncanceled, and we see this cancel culture going on, and one thing that's been canceled, I feel, is the nuclear family units in this country have been canceled. Totally. We have so many fatherless kids growing up in our country, and it's having a devastating effect, on our society. So I think it's important now more than ever to highlight the role of the father and say, join the club.
I think that people emphasize in society now creature comforts, whether or not life is easy, and pleasure. And people are not emphasizing meaning enough. And nothing gives you more meaning than family. That's the thing that gives you the most meaning. Even more than career for most people. For men, sometimes career can surpass it. And I think for women, it's almost always family. Very occasionally is it career. But there's so much emphasis on comfort and career and pleasure and not on meaning. And the meaning is so profound the second that you welcome a child into the world. And it becomes addictive. You just want more and more and more. And I'd have 1 million if I had the time.
Yeah, listen, I'm right there with you. It's been the best thing that I've done in my life. And like you say, so many of the young guys, I started this show because I drove a lot of Uber on the weekends. And a lot of the young guys, when I told them I had 4 kids, they looked at me like I had 4 heads. They were like, what, are you out of your mind? It's something that they would want to avoid, not something they want to embrace. It's something that they look at it as something that's going to ruin their good time. It's like, well, why am I going to take on all this responsibility when I can just go do everything I want and not have to be bothered with it?
And you find that these little moments in the day, particularly my kids are super cute ages, and there's these little moments in the day that are just so profound and so beautiful and so hilarious and so enjoyable, but you'll never know until you've got the kids. So until you have the kids, you can't realize how fun it can be just a Sunday at home when you're playing games and you're playing music and they're dancing around and they're running around, they're chasing each other and they're laughing maniacally. My 16-month-old, he's at one of the most beautiful ages because he's got this big, broad, beautiful smile. And it's so pure. He hasn't been corrupted at all by the world. And it's just something that you could just wish you could bottle it up and take it forever. Because he hasn't seen that the world does get tough yet. And again, just a pleasure that you will not get unless you have children.
Yeah, and you know what? One of I guess I would say my favorite Democrat slogan that's ever been was John Kennedy saying, "Ask not what your country can do for you." I kind of put that into the family life as well. Don't ask what your family can do for you. Ask what you can do for your family. And I think it just opens you up. It makes you a better person, better husband, and more responsible human being overall. So I think it's the best thing that can happen to any male or female in their life. And I would ask you, what would be the top values that you're hoping to instill in your kids growing up?
So for my kids, discipline is going to be big. Being fighters is going to be big, but not fighters like brawlers. Though there is some merit to being afraid physically, but just being able to hold your ground, be able to defend your positions. But honor, integrity, trust. Those are really big things, but I think hard work is another big one. There's so many key values, but I would say if you're a trustworthy person, a lot of doors will open up to you. I think that's the thing in this world where everyone is moving a mile a minute and doing a million things. If you're seen as a trustworthy person, I really think that is what is going to constantly open opportunities for you. So that's probably my number one. But I got a question for you, because you talk to a lot of dads. I'm sure that you get this, what I experience, which is that I love it. I wish I started earlier. This has got to be a societal thing that we're not encouraging people to get on track with their families, right?
It seems that way. You know what? Even in the pop culture, like we see the single guy always glorified. Like he's always sleeping around with multiple women. He's having a good time. And whenever we see that family, that father guy, he's got his head tucked down. He's never getting laid.
He's putting an entire avocado into a blender.
That's what I'm saying. So I think it's not something that's being promoted as something to shoot for. I think we everything else, like you alluded to earlier, they're saying about the career being the most important thing. Yet when I talk to these guys that have been Super Bowl MVPs, $100 million entrepreneurs, they say, you know what, I've accomplished all these things, but the experience of being a father has given me the greatest sense of fulfillment in life, and that's been the most important thing. So I think it's important at events like this. I know there's guys here like Michael Knowles, Jack Posobiec. These are guys that are pushing, telling these kids, hey, starting a family is something to aspire to, not something to be afraid of.
Yeah, I've been very vocal about it, and I'll tell you one thing. I've talked to Tucker Carlson about this, who's the biggest star in my movement at the moment. He's got 4 kids, and he's constantly saying, family is everything, have as many kids as you can, have more kids than you can afford. Andrew Breitbart, my boss and mentor, had 4 kids. So people can do it. You can be busy and have kids, and I highly recommend it. It just fulfills every second of your life. There's something interesting going on when you get the kids.
Well, I'll tell you what, Michael Knowles, who's here, I had him on the podcast before. He's a brand new dad himself. He just had his first kid, and he got some advice from Andrew Klavan that was telling him, hey, listen, people fear that, especially the young guys, they'll say, like, if I'm going to have kids, it's going to be too much money. It's going to cost me too much. I can't afford it. Right. But yet, when you have kids, it really accelerates your drive to do better, earn more. So you end up making more in the long run.
I've always responded to that. For me, I'm very incentive-based in general, and whenever I feel like my lifestyle needs an increase, I somehow manage to figure out a way to move my career along. So I'm wired that way. I know every guy isn't, that a lot of people want to get on a set track forever, but for me, if there's another mouth to feed, I'm just going to work a little harder, but more important than harder, smarter. You learn how to become a better, for me, I have a lot of skills at my work as editor of Breitbart that are grinder skills, things that require a ton of hours. But there's a lot of skills that are management skills where if you work smart, you can save yourself time, and you really learn to develop those skills. So that's what I'm saying. Just have the kids, and then when you have them, then your life will change. But I'm very optimistic for the vast majority of people, it will be for the better.
And I think the fear of the change is one of the things too, Alex, that keeps people from doing it. And I bring a lot of the Navy SEALs on, like I said, and their slogan is, you got to get comfortable being uncomfortable. And nothing makes you more uncomfortable than having a kid and being a dad for the first time. But once you get through and push through, then you realize why everyone talks so highly about it. So
exactly, and I like when the tough guys have the kids too, because the world is not an easy place to navigate. And I know that my kids, being the son of the Breitbart editor, the sons of the Breitbart editor,
that's why I wanted to ask you.
I can't imagine what's going to be in store for them. But they're going to learn some grit. They're going to learn some stuff that is not being fostered by mainstream society right now.
Yeah, and on that, listen, whenever I bring on conservative guests, I usually get hammered on social media. I can only imagine what it's like for you. Our political atmosphere is toxic right now. It just seems like everyone wants to hate one another. What has been like? Have you made any adjustments, or do you feel any of that blowback? I mean, you have young kids. You're talking about highly sensitive issues here. Have you had any kind of negative results doing what you do?
Thankfully, they're too young for that, but I anticipate it'll happen down the road. And this is a sad thing, because I'll tell you, if, for example, if I don't think whoever edits, the Huffington Post would have to worry about their kids like being able to coach Little League with their kids.
100%.
But I know some people in my life who are, I'm not there yet, but they do have to worry about coaching Little League in their neighborhood because it will become a distraction because they're a professional conservative for a living. And I hope we get past that as a society because it's so toxic and it's just not fair to the kids themselves. And so hopefully keeping the kids out of it is something that most people I think are going to respect. But I haven't experienced it firsthand. But I got to admit, I'm a little fearful about it.
I'm not surprised. And like you said, hopefully this thing we start to meld. As I said, I bring dads on here from all walks of life.
Yeah.
And when you're in the dad club, it doesn't matter where you came from, what street you're from. We're all in the same boat. We want our kids to excel. We want them to be safe. We want them to be happy and treat other people with kindness. And we don't want to see them sad and hurt. So we are a lot more alike than people are telling us that we're different.
And this should be a unifier for us. And maybe it will. And maybe shows like yours will help, hopefully. Can I ask you another question? I do a lot of interviews, so I can't help it. But it's you have a lot of guys who are veterans on. I've been deployed to Washington and Tampa for some conferences the last 5 days. This is tongue in cheek. I haven't really been deployed. It's a joke. And I already missed my kids in 5 days. Like it's hard. How do you go on a tour of duty for 9 months? I mean, that's unbelievable. Just to leave your family for that long.
And listen, this is one of the reasons why I'm a railroad mechanic is what I do full time. And when I have to work those overnight shifts and doubles, I'm the same way. So I ask these guys, like, how do you do it when you go on a 9 month? But one thing that's different is the FaceTime, that they have the opportunity to do these things where if there's a play going on, their wife or the mother of their child can FaceTime them and bring them there. So that part of it, I guess, has made it a little bit simpler for them. I can't speak to it personally, but I always ask them that and let them speak onto it. So I've had all these veterans on, and I always ask them about that. Yeah. What are the challenges of that? And for a lot of guys, they'll wait and put off having kids until their military career is over for that specific reason.
Yeah, and I think that makes sense for some guys. It's less of an issue for men than women because I think men can probably do that a little more easily. But I was just thinking that would just be so painful, and so many of our bravest and best Americans do that routinely. It's amazing.
Yeah, and like I said, I had Jocko Willink on the podcast, and I asked him about that, and he said, you got to talk to my wife. She's the one that was there through all of that while I was deployed. So in those relationships, there's a high divorce rate because of all that. So listen, I have nothing but respect for the men and women of our military. Just for that portion of it alone is a lot to be aspired to. So,
absolutely.
Last thing I want to hit you with here, I don't want to keep you any longer. I love to ask all the dads that I get on the podcast, what type of advice do you have for the new dad or for that about-to-be father out there listening?
Just enjoy every minute, particularly for that first month and that first year. And for me, I don't know, I'm loving where my kids are at now, but it is just try to take in those little minutes, those little moments, and you don't know when they're going to pop up, so don't be distracted. Don't be on your phone. My 2-year-old knows if I'm on, and I'm pretty good about this. I try to be pretty disciplined about separating family and work time, but they notice at a really young age, and that's a good thing. That's a check on you being tuned out into whatever BS is in your head and not focusing on what really matters, which is right in front of you, and then go for quantity. Those are my two. I think we should have more kids. In bigger families, we all are so delighted when we see bigger families, and there's so many societal forces telling us not to bigger families. So those are my top two.
Well said. I love the message. It's been an honor for me. I got to say, you're a first-class father all the way, and thank you for giving me a few minutes of your time here.
Thank you. This has been a blast.
Father.